All right, we have week 4 of the SPL versus Keely, a VGC streamer. If you want to check her out, as well as the other coaches in the league, you can check them out down below. We're currently 2-1. And let's quickly just break down our team real quick before we get into the battle. All right, let's quickly recap the teams and go over the team I'm bringing for this week. The team that we have currently is Golden Go, Dundozo, Glimora, Tinglu, Meowscarada, the Paldea Tauros, alongside Fletchender and the Tatsugiri. Keely is going to have the Tornadus, Landis Incarnate, Excalibur, Hisuian Arcanine, Serena, Sylveon, Quaquaval, Typhlosion, Cantoform, or Jodoform actually, Hisuian Sneasel, and Skiploom. Now, this is a very scary Tailwind offense team, and while they don't have the best Answers Dundozo at the looks of it, I think that it's still decently tough just because they have a lot of offensive capabilities. The Tornadus is a bit scary because they have Sunny Day potential. It'll slow down Dundozo's damage output. Serena with Drop Kick, the Hisuian Arcanine with Intimidate Will-O-Wisp. They have a few Focus Energy mons I was a little bit scared of, which was the Quaquaval and the Excalibur. So definitely things I'm going to have to keep in mind. For me, my thought process was they're most likely going to always bring the Tornadus Incarnate, the Landis Incarnate, and the Serena. I think those three are really good into me, especially Serena covers the Dundozo a Tinglu set, but also like Drop Kick would be really annoying for the Dundozo because they could stall it out, reduce the damage output, and just build up damage in Dundozo to clean up. So I'm like, okay, those are pretty scary. Then the back combination I thought was like going to be any three of like Excalibur, Hisuian Arcanine, maybe Sylveon. I was a bit scared of Quaquaval and the Skiploom. That was basically what I thought process was here. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I don't get slowed down damage output wise. And the first thought was to have Clear Amulet Dundozo with Water Veil, because I'm like, okay, if they want to go for Willis with the Hisuian Arcanine, I am immune to it, and I can also just have the Clear Amulet, which prevents Intimidate and prevents the problematic option of Drop Kick from the Serena. So that was the idea here. I don't have Leftovers Recovery, but I don't think I really need to stall for Leftovers Recovery in most cases, because this game would probably be down to like only a few turns in the game realistically, just because of how offensive their team is. So I'm like, okay, I think this Dundozo set is decent. I decided to run Liquidation, Rock Slide, because they don't exactly have the best rock switches, right? Excalibur, Hisuian Arcanine, the Tornadus, even Typhlosion and Skiploom, they're all weak to rock. So I'm like, okay, I think Rock Slide's a better spread coverage than Earthquake, which doesn't really hit anything different otherwise. Liquidation, just so I'm able to hit the Sylveon at +2, and of course good damage to Landorus and Tornadus. And then Zen Headbutt. I was really scared of Quaquaval. Like, I really was probably over scared of Quaquaval. So that's why I'm deciding, hey, I'm going to go Zen Headbutt, because I just one-shot Quaquaval with the +2, which is actually really cool. It also covers any Terra Poison that my opponent could bring for the Glimora. So thought it was like a double win there. So that's why I have this Clear Amulet Dundozo that's designed to have some good special defense to take the hits from like Bleak Wind and Sandseer and Earth Power from my opponent, while having a decent enough attack. The speed is to outspeed basically like the Quaquaval. I think since we're probably going to be matching Tailwinds, like there isn't really a point of outspeeding like timid or modest Pokemon for the most part. So I'm like, okay, this is probably the best I go here. The next Pokemon is the Choice Scarf Tatsugiri. Going to be the Revenge KO with the Terra Steel for the Sylveon and the Excalibur, with Muddy Water, Draco Meteor, Icy Wind, and Terra Blast, specifically Terra Blast for the Sylveon specifically. I went enough speed to outspeed like Quaquaval, and yeah, that was basically the goal, was just outspeeding Quaquaval with the timid Tatsugiri, which was pretty good enough so I could just Icy Wind through the team for the most part and Revenge KO in the end game once Dundozo went down. Next Pokemon we have is going to be the Fletchender. This is Terra Dark to prevent taunts from the Tornadus from affecting the Fletchender. And I went with dual wing beats offensive. This is for the Skiploom to KO it if it's Focus Sash for some reason. But I also like, I don't really need the bulk. She's just going to KO Fletchender, and I'd rather Fletchender go down early so I get the free switches under Tailwinds. So that was the idea. I have a lot of speed here. I think again to outspeed like I think it was Quaquaval if I'm not mistaken, and Tailwind of course just really necessary to protect the stall out turns if I have Fletchender out on the field. And Temper Flare was a move that I just was like, okay, I'll have a backup answer to Serena if I can't do Wing Beats because of the Gale Wings. So just in case I needed an extra fire type move and I didn't want recoil, so I went with Temper Flare instead. I went with Vesolva's Glamora, which I think is pretty good because it's really hard for Achille to hit this Pokemon if they don't bring Landers, and otherwise like they can't really hit my Glamora if I go for Terra Flying if they do bring Landers. So I went with a Glamora that's decently fast into like Adamant Max Speed Serena. So that was the idea here between the Glamora, get a Mortal Spin, Terra Flying, Terra Blast. It's pretty threatening because they have weaknesses in Quaquaval, Serena, and Skip Bloom. I guess I can just hit with Power Gem and Sludge Bomb. I just went with Terra Blast just for that factor. And yeah, like the idea is just to get Toxic Spikes with Glamora, get enough chip damage so Dondozo just puts the KOs in with Liquidation or Rock Slide. That was basically the idea of this Glamora, and I wanted Pokemon that pressured the Torn immediately. So fast offensive Glamora that's also just able to take attacks. Next Pokemon we have is the Tauros Paldea, and I felt like, okay, Tauros is good in the Serena, Hisuian Arcanine, and Excalibur if necessary. So there is a world I don't bring Dondozo and I mixed up instead. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go max speed Tauros. Like I think it can be pretty good. Just outspeed, threaten a fast Flare Blitz or close combat that does a lot of damage. Substitute was just a backup option. I didn't really know what else I was bringing here, so I'm like, I don't really need any of the speed boosting mons moves I thought, like Trailblaze. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have Substitute in case like there's a world they protect us all on my Tailwind turns, because ideally I had to Tailwind in the late game by setting up the Tailwind turns correctly. So I'm like, okay, if they protect us all out of turn, I have Substitute that Tauros can set up, which I felt like was a good backup. Finally, Golden Go with the Terra Flying, same idea as Glamora, but Golden Go really nice because again, immune to Skip Bloom. It threatens the Excalibur, good against the Serena, good against Torn, only bad against Landorus, which is what the Terra Flying is for, just to threaten heavy damage. I went with Timid because I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's going to bring like Moz and Adamant Natures and not Timid Natures, maybe on the Tornaz, but that's really it. I'm like, okay, I might as well just brute force it because I think Golden Go with Make It Rain would just do so much damage. Respectable into Sylveon, as I mentioned before, the grass types, just a really good opener that can just do a lot of damage, and is pretty good with Glamora and Tauros in case I do bring the non-Dondozo mode. So my plan is hopefully ideally getting the Toxic Spikes up immediately with Glamora, chipping them down, and then cleaning up with Dondozo with hopefully a turn of speed advantage available, as well as a non-Tailwind mode with Golden Go, Glamora, Fletchinder, and Tauros if I need. But I could also bring solo Tatsugiri because Scarf Tatsugiri is actually pretty decent here. All right, now that you know about the team, we have seen the Excalibur, Sylveon, Hisuian Arcanine, Skip Bloom, Landorus Incarnate, and Hisui Sneasel. Now, no Tornaz is absolutely crazy. Like it absolutely is crazy. No pranks or Tailwind, so not something that I expected, but we do have like what I would think like the Sylveon, Excalibur are going to be threatening. The Landorus Incarnate does a lot of damage. I don't know why Sneasel's here. I guess they wanted a poison switch in for the Glamora Toxic Spikes, because I was going to bring Glamora. It was pretty good into their team. And then Skip Bloom, which I think is like some Dondozo counter of stalling it out with like Strange Sap, maybe like next to Willis Arcanine. So all right, like here we are doing post commentary because we recorded this super late at night, and literally after this battle I remember just going straight to bed. So my game plan here, I felt like, okay, Fletchinder Glamora looks really good, set up the spikes, and then go with my Dondozo Tatsugiri mode as my game plan for the game one. Felt like it was pretty solid, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I thought Tauros Blaze could have been an interesting mix up in like a game 2 or maybe even a game 3 scenario, and I felt like Golden Go was pretty decent, but I have no idea what they're leading here because of the fact that they just don't have Tailwind mode, so that slows down like a lot of options what they have. So I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. Like I thought maybe like Hisuian Arcanine could be brought out here, which is fine. A Landorus Incarnate would be acceptable as well, but they do have to respect the Dondozo, so I'm kind of curious. Like I think like a lot of this was just coming down to the Skip Bloom on what set it is. I thought it was going to be defensive like Strength Sap to slow down my Dondozo so they could just beat it with their fast heavy offensive hitters, but we're going to see the lead of the Hisuian Arcanine and the Skip Bloom, which I'm thinking, oh, that makes sense. He could go for like Willis, he could go for Strength Sap, stall out the Dondozo. You could play around like safety goggles pretty easily. So I do leave Fletchinder Glamora. Not sure what the speed tier is, but I'm like, okay, it's Terra Fairy on the Skip Bloom, and I don't have to really worry about Terra Fairy on Skip Bloom, assuming anything, but I'm just going to go for a Sludge Bomb into the Skip Bloom, hoping it's the defensive set, and just protect the Fletchinder in case they go for a Rock Slide here, which is pretty much one of their best targets, I think. Protect the Fletchinder, as we're going to see Sleep Powder immediately. It's max speed Skip Bloom, which You know, I thought this would be slow and defensive, but apparently not. We're going to see the sleep powder immediately because it's max speed skip bloom. And we see a head smash immediately into the Fletchender. And that just signals to me that they maybe expected Dondozo to come in, or they are choice banded. So not exactly an amazing turn. I do take one turn of sleep. Here I'm already fighting from behind. I just got to basically get the sludge bomb damage, or I can go for the power gem. I go for the power gem in the Arcanine because I know they're not going to sleep powder the more this turn. So I'm like, okay, if I can go for the power gem into the Arcanine, that would actually be pretty great, getting rid of a Mon guaranteed here. Then next turn I could double up the skip bloom because I'll be faster than it under Tailwind. So I go for the Tailwind because I'm expecting sleep powder into Fletchender. We are going to be unfortunately still asleep for Glimmora, so that's 2 turns of sleep right there, as they actually reveal Tailwind on Skip Bloom. I thought only Jumpluff got Tailwind, but apparently not. So my expectations are already really dire right here, as Head Smash does come out into the Fletchender, and Fletchender will go down as the Hisuian Arcanine does take a bunch of recoil. But yeah, not a great start. I'm going to go Dondozo here, and unfortunately, because of the fact that this is the fast Skip Bloom and I'm slow Dondozo, even with Tatsugiri double speed, I am slower than Skip Bloom. I probably should have calced that, I guess, in retrospect, but yeah, it's a bad spot. I need the damage into Skip Bloom now with like a Sludge Bomb, and maybe hope that it just KOs right here. So I will protect the Dondozo as Sleep Powder comes out in Dondozo. I think they're just scouting for the safety goggles or Terra Grass, as they also go for the Head Smash into the Dondozo as well, because they probably just read my Tatsugiri come in. But I need to get the Skip Bloom off the field. I do wake up, thankfully no 3-turn sleep. I'm able to get a Sludge Bomb, but it's Focus Sash Skip Bloom, which I guess does make sense if you're running max speed on the Skip Bloom. And now I'm like, oh no, this is bad. I need a Sleep Powder dodge here. So I'm going to go for Rock Slide and switch to Tatsugiri and just hope for the Sleep Powder miss. I think looking back at it, I could have also just went for a just an attack with Dondozo. I just was worried about how much Head Smash was doing, because I'm pretty sure if you're going for the Head Smash at this point, you're choice banded. And I was like, okay, is it worth for me to take all this damage on Dondozo? Because I'm probably going to have to tank whatever's in the back. So I think my best odds were just risking the Sleep Powder, because they have to hit Sleep Powder again. They have to hit the Head Smashes to do damage. I felt like my chances weren't too bad here. So I'm just going to go for the Tatsugiri switch and go for the Rock Slide immediately. So that was the plan here. And if they do miss Sleep Powder, I get the double Rock Slide KO. But we do see Sleep Powder again. This move is the bane of my existence. Dondozo falls asleep. Could have respected more by bringing safety goggles, I guess, but I was more worried about the Arcanine. Like, Will-O-Wisp intimidates us, like just rotations. Head Smash is going to come out though into the Dondozo, and yeah, it does do a ton of damage and a bunch of recoil. And I'm like, if there's any chance of me winning, I need to get a Rock Slide off now into these Pokemon. If I get the Rock Slide off now, like, I can potentially win with the remainder of Tatsugiri plus Dondozo, because the Tailwinds are going to be expiring soon for both sides. And then Dondozo, depending on the speed of their Pokemon, it's like really going to come down to the speed of their Pokemon. Like, how fast is whatever is in the back. Like, I'm expecting Lander's Eye in the back. We see a Rage Powder come out to protect the Arcanine so it can keep going for the Head Smashes. Dondozo unfortunately takes another turn to sleep, and I'm getting a bit unlucky with the sleep turns. Head Smash is just going to come out into Dondozo, and yeah, it's just doing so much damage. Like, it's just doing so much. I'm like, okay, they're just going to get a Tailwind and a Head Smash again, or they can go for Rage Powder. I mean, like, there's nothing I can do. I just have to click Rock Slide, but yep, should have respected the Sleep Powder a bit more here. I was really expecting Torrent. Like, if they did bring Skip Bloom, I thought like, oh, I wouldn't have had as much problems with it. But yeah, the fact that the Arcanine's actually doing damage is actually able to blow through my Dondozo with 3 Head Smashes. So I mean, Arcanine goes down, but it's looking pretty dire. I have a Tatsugiri out and a Glimmora with no Tailwind, as they have Skip Bloom and 2 Pokemon in the back, and they can click Sleep Powder because I did not bring anything that absorbs the Sleep Powder. We're going to see the Vex Caliber come in, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be super rough here, because I don't know if they have a ground type move. I don't know if they just go for like a dragon type move into Tatsugiri. There's really not much I can do here, and I was contemplating, do I even we already have open team sheet Terra, so they already know my Terras, so it's not really looking too great. I'm thinking that they could go for, they're probably just always targeting Tatsugiri to put in range of the Landorus, because I'm pretty sure Landorus would be the last Pokemon, and they decide to go for a Terra since they still have it, go for the Terra Water, and it just makes sense because I can't KO the Excalibur unless I commit full hard and get a Draco Meteor plus a Sludge Bomb or Power Gem off. They go for a Sleep Powder, and I do dodge one, which is, you know, something. It gives me something, but they just go for Scale Shot anyway. Even if I went for Terra Steel there, like if I Terra Steel to Tatsugiri, I know I'm just losing to Landorus in the back, so I was basically hoping for move dodges at this point. I'm surprised to see Scale Shot though, so that's at least good information for me, and that makes it actually pretty rougher for my Tailwind mode. I am able to get a Mortal Spin off to KO the Skiploom, and at least I confirm it's probably loaded dice on Excalibur if you're going to be running the Scale Shot. So goodbye Skiploom. I get to confirm it's the final back. It's going to be Landorus most likely, but I could pray like, hey, if it's Sylveon, I actually might have a chance of winning this game, but it is going to be Fearless the Landorus, and I'm like, yeah, this game was a lost cause, and I'm just kicking myself so much in this game one because I'm like, man, I really disrespected the Sleep Powder that much, huh? I really disrespected, because I felt like, okay, maybe you go like Sunny Day Torn with Sleep Powder, like maybe that's your game plan. Here, I'm basically just hoping that you decide, hey, I'm going to throw this match accidentally by not clicking an Ice move and going for Earth Power. Like, that's basically what I gotta hope, right? But you gotta play it out in Draft League. You can't forfeit for information. And yeah, there's like nothing I could do. So I just go for the Terra Flying in case they do throw. I could have maybe went for Sandseer Storm Dodge, but yeah, it just doesn't change anything. Icicle Spear is just going to come out into the more, and that's going to be a pretty rough game one. And I'm like, I was not happy with how I started this game one, but can bounce back. But I really regret not outspeeding Skiploom with any of my Pokemon other than Golden Go, which I did have my Golden Go that does outspeed the Skiploom. I'm like, that's probably going to be it, isn't it? I'm probably going to need Golden Go. I think like with what they're bringing, I'm okay with this combination though. They're a bit weak to like Landorus Make It Rain and or Force of Terror generally, so that's something I got to keep in mind. And also, like, Dundozo doesn't get unlucky with the Sleep Powders. Like, I don't even need the Toxic Stall. All I really need to do is just either A, have the Tailwind advantage, or B, I just KO the Skiploom early, and then Dundozo actually has a pretty good chance against her team in general. So that's going to be my game plan for the game too, as we get right into it. I was debating about like some other stuff, like am I foregoing the Dundozo mode, because I was like, like it is vulnerable to those luck factors, but I'm like, maybe in a game 3 scenario, I think Dundozo is just more consistent, assuming I just don't get unlucky with Sleep Powders early in the game. So I'm like, okay, I can go for probably Fletchender Golden Go, which I felt was just safe as a lead because A, I threatened to Skiploom with a dual Wing Beast plus Make It Rain combination, or I just go for the Tailwind immediately, and I felt like both were like pretty good trade-offs right here. So I'm thinking of like just leaving Fletchender plus Golden Go. I think it's just like one of the greatest, mainly because I'm like, okay, you can't Sleep Powder Golden Go, and that's the big thing. And if you Flare Blitz my Golden Go, like the Arcanine locked into Flare Blitz, I think it's just such a big disadvantage realistically, because you're probably going down to the recoil unless you go for the Terra, and even then like Tatsugiri comes in, revenge KOs, and actually does some pretty big damage because they don't have a good switch to Tatsugiri afterward. And I'll still have Dundozo in the back. Once I get rid of that Skiploom though, that's the problematic Pokemon. I just want to get rid of that Skiploom. So we're just gonna lead Fletchender Golden Go, no Sleep Powder involved, at least into the Golden Go slot. And yes, that was the plan. I could also Terra if I really want to my Golden Go, so I lived the Flare Blitz, and I don't really need to Terra on Dundozo, but saving the backup Terra just in case for Tatsugiri I felt like was nice. We're gonna see the lead again of Skiploom and Arcanine. Yeah, it was not like I had the best answers in game 1, so there's no really downsides to leading in game 2 against Fletchender Golden Go. And here I decide I'm just gonna go for Tailwind Make It Rain. I think the trade-off is just worth it. I thought about dual Wing Beating, but if they have Protect on the Skiploom, we saw Rage Powder, we saw Sleep Powder, and we saw Tailwind. We didn't see the 4th move. I'm just guaranteeing that I get my Make It Rain off, and we do get the Tailwind off, and we get a huge Make It Rain off, into the Arcanine, and we crit the Arcanine, which this Golden Go is making it rain on my side of the field. It is not playing around. We are having full stakes on as we do KO the Arcanine, and that is a incredible start to the game as we see Sleep Powder immediately into the Fletchinder. I actually don't think I would have minded this spot though, because since they didn't get tailed up, they can't Sleep Powder my Dondozo. So all I have to do, even if Golden Go went down to, let's say, a Flare Blitz or Fletchinder went down to Head Smash, bring in Dondozo, I'm faster, I just click Rock Slide, and there's nothing that they can do about it. So I'm completely okay with that trade-off. Like, I am completely okay with that trade-off. They go Landers here, and I'm like, okay, I don't think you're ever clicking Sandsear Storm. I'm okay, again, getting the free switch into Dondozo so I can threaten, and just going for Make It Rain to make sure the Skiploom never gets Tailwind up to match the Tailwind, because as long as they don't get Tailwind, my Dondozo guaranteed to outspeed all of these Pokemon and just threaten heavy damage. And there's no way you risk Sandsear Storm on to cover the Dondozo over getting the guaranteed KO on the Skiploom. That's at least how I see it. If they go for it, sure, but I'm like, I don't think they will take that risk after the really rough turn one. So I'm going to go to Dondozo. I could have also burned Eternal Sleep, which is also pretty fair. Like, burning Eternal Sleep is pretty fair, but I felt like I could have. Like, looking back at it, I definitely could have, because burning Eternal Sleep and Fletchinder, like, let's say Golden Go goes down, I get the free switch to Dondozo, then I just switch in Tatsugiri, but I get a +1 sleep turn burn. But they protect the lander, so this ends up being perfect for me, as I'm able to get a Make It Rain KO off into the Skiploom, and now it's just like, oh, they're in a really bad trouble. So getting the KO on the Skiploom, no Tailwind, no Sleep Powder, down to their final two. They do have Terra, yes. It's gonna be the Terra Poison on the Landers, as well as the Terra Water on the Baxcalibur. It's looking pretty rough, especially if the Landers is not going to be faster than my Dondozo, because I can go for a Liquidation, Make It Rain. I could go for the Tatsugiri swap. I have Rock Slide as well, so Terra Poison doesn't really help them out too. I never even revealed Rock Slide earlier in the game with Dondozo, so I'm like, okay, I could probably just go for the KO on the Landers. There's not really much stopping me from going for the KO on the Landers. If they go for the Terra Poison, it's a bit rough, I suppose, but if they think I have Wave Crash because I never revealed a move on Dondozo, then Landers goes down to +2 Wave Crash unless they're insanely bulky for some reason. Like, yeah, I don't think you're ever going to Terra Poison. So I'm just going to go Tatsugiri, because I felt like you're more likely to go for the Terra with your Baxcalibur than you are with your Landers, because you're Wave Crash. I've been bringing Wave Crash to Dondozo, and I think it's definitely worth me going for the Tatsugiri switch into a Liquidation Landers, because I don't think you Terra the Landers. If you were any other Terra, maybe, but like that resists water type attack, but you don't resist a water type attack. So I should always get the KO on the Landers here. At least that's my assumption. And even if for some reason the Landers is slower than my Dondozo, I guarantee outspeed because I have the Tailwind advantage now. We do see a Terra come out from Keely, and she kind of has to in this position. It's going to reveal the Baxcalibur, and I'm like, okay. Baxcalibur going to reveal itself with the Terra Water, and I'm like, okay, yeah, unless it's a double protect from Lando, I should have the game sealed, because Baxcalibur shouldn't be able to beat the Dondozo. As we get the Liquidation off, no double protect attempted. Goodbye Landers. Landers goes down, and Baxcalibur is going to be able to get an attack off, but it shouldn't really matter. But they actually go for Dragon Shoot, so they have a cheeky tech, but I don't think this is Scope Lens Landers, so I don't think I have to worry about, like, it's a +1 crit ratio. It's not like a +3 or even a +2 for the 50%. So I don't think I really have to worry about it. And I'm just going to go for Liquidation here, just so I don't reveal the information in case I want to bring Dondozo in game 3. Because I'm like, okay, Excalibur can't win this endgame. Like, it literally cannot win this endgame, because I still have Terra Steel on my Tatsu available, and I still have a Golden Go in the back that just the Excalibur cannot touch. So I'm just like, at this point, there's like nothing that they can do. I just spam Liquidation and they just cannot win, just for the information game. So I'm like, all right, what am I expecting game 3? Because all I have to do to win this endgame is just keep clicking Liquidation. There's no shot she can win this endgame. And I'm like, okay, are you going to lead the same thing again? Because if you're going to lead the same thing, I have a mix-up that I was debating about, which is not bringing Dondozo mode at all. Because if she leads Arcanine Skiploom again, I'm thinking, okay, I can lead my Tatsugiri plus Golden Go. My Golden Go should be faster than their Arcanine because I'm timid Golden Go. They should be adamant Arcanine if they're running Head Smash. I should be able to threaten Muddy Water, Make It Rain, KO to Skiploom because I have 2 Pokemon that outspeed, or I could force a situation where I think they have to Terra the Arcanine and go for the Thunderbolt and a Icy Wind. And now I'm just debating all these lines in my head and I'm trying to figure out which one is the best position. And do I even want to bring Dundozo in that case, or is there a risk of me losing my Tatsugiri immediately, and do I not bring the Dundozo? So those are all possibilities I'm just thinking about, and at this point I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna not bring the Dundozo mode, because in the risk chance of them not leading the same lead in game 3 and mix it up completely, which even if they mix it up, I'm trying to figure out like what they even do, because like Icy Wind, Make It Rain is threatening so much. The only thing that maybe scares me from that is like Excalibur, Terra Water, and again I have the same Thunderbolt pin. I even have a Draco Meteor that I can threaten, so even then it's not like a super strong combination. So I'm like, okay, I'm bringing Fletchinder because if I get Tailwind with the Golden Go, it's still really big threat. And then last Pokemon I'm debating because like this one's pretty tough. Like I think Tauros is pretty good. I think I just decided to bring Glamora in case there's an Sylveon adjustment, which I think looking back at it, I do think that Glamora was actually the worst bring that I could have brought, because it just Landorus Excalibur is just always the super threatening pin, and I don't think Glamora helps. The thing is, Tauros doesn't really help with that either because I get pinned as well. And then my Dundozo, maybe I should have just brought Dundozo. Like Solo Dozo could have probably got a KO just because I have Liquidation for the Landorus as well as Rock Slide. I was just worried about like if it was gonna be able to Brute Force under Tailwind, because like Glamora can Brute Force under Tailwind if they don't have the Tailwind up on their side, which I think is massive. So we'll see about how it goes, but I decide, hey, I'm leaving the Nuzzle in the back. We're gonna see the Hisuian Arcanine and the Skiploom, and I'm like, okay, if you are bringing the same thing for the first 2 games, which I think you always have Excalibur and Landorus in the back at this point, I'm going for the Icy Wind Thunderbolt play on your Terra Water on your Arcanine, because we saw like if I just Muddy Water, Make It Rain, you literally lose the game. You lose both Pokemon here and you cannot recover, because at that point you just get swept by my back. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go for the attacks. We're gonna see the Terra Water on the Arcanine revealed here. I'm like, yes. Now if they Rage Powder, that's okay, and if they take the Tatsugiri, I didn't bring Dundozo, so I'm okay with that. They didn't go for the Rage Powder, so I'm able to get an Icy Wind off into the Skiploom, lower its speed, which is really important. I also Icy Wind, just a safety measure in case it's Jolly Arcanine, but I'm pretty confident it's adamant, as I get a Thunderbolt off into the Arcanine, raiding the Terra Water. Their Terra is gone and their Arcanine is no longer on the field. The problem is they either get a Sleep Powder or they get a Tailwind off, which is not super ideal, but it is not the worst here because I can match that Tailwind with my Fletchinder. However, can be a bit scary here, as we're going to see they have to choose who to bring out. It's either Landorus or Excalibur. I'm thinking it's probably going to be Landorus because they can just threaten a lot, but it's actually going to be the Excalibur. And I'm like, okay, do I want to stay in and click Thunderbolt? It's not really that great of a spot here because I'd rather reset for to Make It Rain. And I'm worried about if they bring Landorus in. So debating about what to do. Do I stay in and Icy Wind or not? I think my play here is always bring out Fletchinder because I want the Tailwind option. And I'm just going to Icy Wind with my Tatsu because I feel like the switch or the stay in might be a bit obvious. But if they do commit to knocking out my Tatsugiri, I think it's okay, but they go for a Scale Shot instead of my Golden Go. So they tried to call, I think, my Dundozo come in, but they crit my Fletchinder, which means I always go down to the Scale Shot now, and I'm like, oh no, I just lost my Tailwind mode. That is not good. I am gonna potentially outspeed the Skiploom, and I'm like hoping I outspeed the Skiploom at this rate because it is -1 speed, but that Excalibur is at neutral speed under Tailwind. I'm like, I get pinned by every Earth Power Icicle Spear. So my Glamora back choice was not good. It was 100% not good. I wish I had Dundozo, because if I just had Dundozo, I would just come in and win. I was worried in case like I get turn 1 wrong on a different lead where I lose Tatsugiri and I just don't have Dundozo around. I'm like, oh no, this pin situation is awful. Like, it's actually awful. I'm gonna have to make a read here. And my only out, I think, for me is a bait. That is basically what I'm going to go for. I have to go Golden Go because they have to respect Golden Go. It's choice specs, make it rain, and also the fact that they don't have Terra anymore. So they have to respect and make it rain. Icy Wind isn't doing crazy amounts of damage. It's not KOing the landers even. So I'm thinking like, okay, they're going to pin my Terra Flying here because I have Terra Fly on the Golden Go. They're going to go for Icicle Spear Earth Power, Icicle Spear Sandsear Storm in the Golden Go. And that's basically what I have to pray for. I have to sack my Glamora here to that attack, Icy Wind, and then hope that Tatsugiri can get another Icy Wind off. That is basically my hope here. If I don't get those attacks off, I just lose the game here. So I go out into Glamora to sack it off to hopefully what I think is going to be the double attacks. And luckily, we do see the Icicle Spear does come out into the Glamora because I also did have the Terra Steel option on the Tatsugiri. It's why I think they're going to Sandsear and an Icicle Spear here, or they Earth Power Icicle Spear. Like, ideally, the best option for me is that they go for either Sandsear Storm and miss, or they just straight up Earth Power my Golden Go, not wanting to rest the Sandsear at this point in the game. They do go for the Earth Power, so I get the bait right as Glamora does go down. Again, I went for the Golden Go and hard switch to Glamora because I needed them to respect the Golden Go and sack the Glamora there, as I do get the Icy Wind off. And I'm like, it's just gonna come down to speed tiers, man. Like, who's faster? This Tatsugiri was designed to be decently fast, but it wasn't like max speed nature. Like, I think the Bax Caliber is animate, and I think the Landers is modest. And I'm like, please just A, be faster Tatsugiri, and B, hit the Icy Winds. That's all we need, specifically in a Landers. But if Landers protects, I do need to go for it. I go for the Terra Flying just in case for some reason. Like, I think it's always going to be adamant back, so I think Golden Go always outspeeds it. But after another Icy Wind, but I don't know about the Landers specifically because I'm worried about like timid Landers. Like, this is just a cover for timid Landers. And either way, like, or if I miss the Icy Wind onto Landers, I suppose. I mean, either way, if I miss the Icy Wind into Bax Caliber, I do lose, but I just need to Icy Winds and get the Terra Flying situation off. But luckily, Tatsugiri, Choice Scarf, outspeeds the Landers, and the Bax Caliber is able to get an Icy Wind KO into the Landers Incarnate, as well as lower that speed on Bax Caliber. So now Make It Rain will be able to outspeed and KO because this Golden Go timid max speed, specifically for the situation of the fact that they have a lot of fast offensive threats in Tailwind, and most likely just want to go with their powerful natures. And somehow clawed back in a really rough spot. Like, the turn one was fantastic for me game 3, but like that situation where they got my the Fletchender KO, which meant I couldn't even protect the Fletchender, was really bad because I couldn't stall out the Tailwinds and the Bax Caliber was speeding up, so I had to keep gaining speed momentum, and luckily was able to. So super clutch. I'm very happy that I was able to make a comeback. I guess I gotta just respect Sleep Powder from now on, man. I gotta respect Sleep Powder from now on. But luckily was able to take week 4 and not go in a down 2 games in a row. But Jubilife Piplups are now 3-1 in the SPL. I think one more win guarantees playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll see if we can make it there. Otherwise, again, go check out Keely, VGC streamer. And you can go check out everyone else in the SPL down below in the description. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more VGC content as always.